My mental strength is definitely my competitive edge. I don't fit the cookie cutter. What I'm learning is that life is all about small changes in the right direction. My hopes are to get more people, women, kids, para-cyclists onto bikes. Because for me, the bicycle is the ultimate teacher about life. I was born without my left hand, and it's actually interesting because I have this like wrist motion, so I could get away with a little bit more than the, I don't even know if average amputee is a thing, but having this wrist motion like really helped me do what everybody else was doing, but in my own way.
Oh yeah, people love watching me do my hair.
When people would try to give me instructions like, okay, so you only use the one hand, I'd be like, I don't want to do it this way because that's just not the best way for me. I was gonna get nowhere if I cared what everybody thought about me. And I think that really set a precedent for me to, you could say, not follow instructions. I was adopted when I was 5 months old. Well, my birthday's July 4th, so really, I was born to be here and to be a part of Team USA. I really got into health and nutrition because my mom struggled with her weight her whole life. I got my degree in nutrition and immunology. From there, I really started to put the pieces together. I'm like, okay, so I don't want to just learn about this. I want to be as healthy as I can. At that point, I was living with my partner, Taylor, who was cycling at the professional level here in the States. And so he would go out and do like 40, 50, 60, 100-mile rides in a day. So just by relativity, I was like, oh, well, if you can do that, then I can ride 14 miles one way to my job. When I first got on a bike here in a level 1 course, I told everyone that I was gonna go train for the Paralympics, and they're like, yes, yes you are, and we're gonna help you get there. And ever since then, like, they've given me unconditional support, which has been amazing. And that's really why I can excel so quickly from a casual commuter to an elite para-cyclist. And I realized that you can't be full-time racer and full-time anything else. And at that point, work started getting really stressful. In 2018, I quit it to start training for the Paralympics. And 3 months later, I won 2 national championships and set a national record at my first track event. And then in 2019, I raced like 50 races. My classification is a woman C5. That means I am the most able-bodied, or if I were to compete from a woman C1, the C1 would be slower than the C5. Ready to gravel. I cannot use a bike that is just out of a box. I don't have the ability to use 2 separate brakes, but then there's great adaptations that already exist. I have this new thing where it's a 3D printed coupler, so I could have 2 brake levers right next to each other. My challenges, I would say, are the same as any athlete or any other cyclist. I go through injuries. I have pushed my body so far because my brain told it to, that I need more rest than the average elite cyclist who's been doing this for like 5 years. For the first 1.5 years of training, I wasn't using a cycling prosthetic. So I tried prosthetics when I was younger. At that point, it just kind of limited me rather than helped me grow. And then I got injured. I separated my AC joint in my shoulder. And really, that's what pushed me to get a cycling prosthetic, because I started training full-time on a machine that needs the rider to be balanced. And then to go the fastest, I realized that my shoulder has been overreaching And it makes sense because technically this side of my body is heavier than this side. At the Pan American Games, that was my first international competition. Up until that time, I was getting around 6th in para events. But I got really close to being on the podium on the road race. Coming into the last corner, I was with the lead group. But then when they started sprinting for the finish, I couldn't keep up. And then I also realized in that race that my cornering skills were really poor. After that game, I turned around and I was like, all right, so I can either go out and just like practice left-hand turns in a parking lot, or I can like go onto the most unpredictable terrain. So if I go out and I do the hardest thing possible, because then anything else is just easier. My training really consisted a lot of just building base fitness. And so then when the games got postponed, it turned out to be like the best year of my life.
In 2020, I was here setting the first hour record for women. That's never been set, even though this track has stood for almost 70 years.
And my training was, if I can ride at altitude or in the toughest environment as possible, then I can do the Paralympic trials easy. I went to Mammoth Lakes, California to altitude train. Everything that led up to this race day determines how well I do. I came in 12th out of 18 women, and only the top 6 were selected. It was quite the learning experience for me, and I'm very happy that I finished. A lot of times I'll train either with my friends or by myself, and then when I go to these races, I'll be racing with para-athletes, and it's great because these events really bring us together. I have received so much support on a personal level, on a community level, on a sponsorship level. Now that I didn't get selected for the games, I get to work on getting para mountain biking into the Paralympics, because right now it is not offered. I want to show up and I want to show people that we can ride and that we can be a part of this and that we can get out onto the dirt. We are doing a disservice to our para athletes by limiting them with what disciplines that they can and cannot do. One of my long-term hopes is that the bicycle industry is one of the first to include all different abilities. Like, we have the tools, we have the technology, like, we just have to put the time in, the effort in. If I can just inspire people by just sharing my story, that makes my whole life meaningful. And I'm finding that leading by example is the best way to live. And we're just beginning.